Alright, hello everybody. Welcome back to EDC Season 13, Week 3. Affiliated FNF Panties are 1-1, and we are against the San Antonio Sparce this week, which is Indomitable Will's team. So for this week, there is not going to be just a straight battle that's live and unlisted in the description. That's just not happening this week because when the battle first happened, I was just not in a good headspace, and I got really whiny during it, and it was like it was just like embarrassing, and it's not a fun part of me to watch or anything, and it was not a good video. Wasn't gonna make a good video. So this week you got a voiceover, and that's it. So also I prepped for the wrong team, so that certainly didn't help things. I prepped for a team that did not have rain, and this team definitely does have rain now. So some of the prep isn't great, but yeah, we're just gonna have to deal with that and just roll with it, and yeah. So let's just go right into the prep. Alright, so to talk about the prep real quick, I'm just kind of gonna go through every single mon and go through their role individually. So we first got Scizor, who's just kind of the de facto remover for the most part, because Galvantula was potentially going to be important this match. It's Focus Sash, but I wanted to keep it around so it could throw off some Swarm Bug Buzzes later in the game. It becomes less important now that he has Swift Swim plus Rain on his Coalfish and his Barraskewda, but you know, before it was going to outspeed mostly everything, and it was going to really hurt with those Bug Buzzes. So that's what the thought was there. Galvantula is Focus Sash because it does want to lead and throw the sticky webs. Again, became less important after he swapped his team around, but again, not something I realized until 30 minutes before the battle started, and that's way too late to change my team. Glamora is a Meteor Beam sweeper with the Power Herb. It would have been able to just completely sweep once webs were up, assuming no heavy duty boots. But once again, it wasn't going to really work out this time, so yeah, unfortunate. But Gliscor is a physical wall that also ended up being not very helpful against much, considering most of his hard hitters were going to have Liquidation and Rain, or his Iron Hand was going to have Ice Punch. So once again, a little rough. But Amoonguss is a special wall that stayed mostly the same. Mental Herb became useless because originally there was a Whimsicott that I wanted to block an Encore from, potential Encore, something like that. So yeah, there was that, and then I have Slowbro, which is a bulky physical wall with Calm Mind setup. And that's the whole team, so let's just go jump into the battle. Alright, to start this battle off, I did lead with Galvantula because I thought, even though webs were not going to be really that important with the rain, I just kind of didn't know what to do, and I wasn't really thinking that clearly, so I just kind of went with the webs because that was just kind of what I planned to do already. And then he leads Uxie, which I just looked at it and I said, okay, we're probably going to trade some rocks for webs. The Uxie throws a Shadow Ball at me though, and does nearly Galvantula's entire HP bar. And so I'd say, holy shit, a Specs Uxie is kind of crazy. No, it's not a Specs Uxie. I'm just dumb. So I also didn't pay enough attention to the fact that I got outsped on turn 1. So Galvantula ends up getting its webs up and just kind of ends up dying for free to the Shadow Ball as I try to Volt Switch out. So I just kind of lose my Galvantula, which would have been quite valuable here, especially on the Pelipper later in the game. But now I've traded my Galvantula for webs, and he's still got this quote-unquote Uxie that's spamming Shadow Balls in my face, and so I decided I just have to go into my special wall of Amoonguss, because I just assumed it was still locked into Shadow Ball, so it wouldn't be able to hit me with a Psychic type move. So Uxie Shadow Balls me, does about 45% of my HP, but lowers my special type defense. I foul play and take the Uxie down to about 10%, and finally I realized that it is in fact Zoroark. My special defense was lowered from that Shadow Ball, so that means I can't really stay in and take another hit anymore. So I decide I go into Scizor to just try and bullet punch that Zoroark away, and I take 70% of my HP to a Shadow Ball in the process. I Bullet Punch as he swaps the Pelipper, and now you can look at my team that I have over here on the right, and you're gonna look at it and you're gonna say, how are you ever going to kill that Pelipper? Well, my options are to use Glamora and Power Herb Meteor Beam to just get it, but A, what's the chance he stays in on it? And B, I still wanted to keep it around because I still had some silly dream of sweeping if somehow Pelipper died and I was able to play without him having Rain into his Barraskewda and Qwilfish with my Glamora up. So I want to keep that around because that was still my win con I saw in my eyes, even though that was a pretty far-fetched reality. So what I actually do is I end up going into Slowbro, and I start having this painful process where I have to recover about 10% of HP a turn between Slack Off and Leftovers, while the Pelipper is just throwing Hurricanes at me, and I just have to hope that it doesn't confuse me and that it doesn't crit me. And at this point, I start to realize, I did not PP max Slack Off, so I only have a grand total of 5, which is extremely limiting. So realistically here, I think that Will could have played this Hurricane Span game forever, and I would have eventually gotten confused and hit myself, or gotten crit, or just lost my PP. He has no risk of spamming Hurricane. I have limited PP and risk, but thankfully he does not, and instead chooses to U-turn into Zoroark, and on that timer I was going to Scald with Slowbro into the Pelipper, just hoping to burn it and put it on a timer because I knew I was going to be playing this game forever and I needed to do something. So the Zoro goes down to that Scald and he goes into Qwilfish, which this Qwilfish does have Swift Swim, and while I'm expecting a crunch, I can never go Gliscor because Qwilfish will still outspeed me and liquidation me on the Gliscor, and I will definitely die in the rain. Or so I thought, because if I had been keeping track of rain turns, I would have realized that this would be the turn that the rain ended. So I could have gone Gliscor on the predicted crunch, and then I could probably live in unrain boosted liquidation, and that would have allowed me to get some kind of chip or particularly momentum on him. But obviously I don't do that, and I go into a Mungus, and now that I realize the rain's gone, silly 8-brained me says, oh well, now I can go into Gliscor because now I'm not in threat of liquidation. Once again, just losing any momentum I had in the game, because he will do the obvious switch and just go back into Pelipper. So now his rain's back up, and Pelipper is just gonna sit in front of this Gliscor, and it's just gonna click Scald or Hurricane or something, and I can't even touch it. I can't do anything on my Gliscor. So I have to go back to the game I was playing before, where I throw out my Slowbro into a Hurricane, and this Hurricane leaves me at about 20% HP. So at this point, I've taken too much damage from this Hurricane, too much chip damage, and I'm just too low to even live another one. So I have to just go and sack Scizor so I can get some free regen HP on Slowbro. And now I bring Slowbro back in, and I slack off on Pelipper's U-turn. But now my Slowbro's full HP, and he goes into his Qwilfish. I decide I cannot switch, and I need to try and burn this Qwilfish with a Scald. He predicts a switch and goes for a Swords Dance to try and sweep and end the game right there. Had I swapped, that Swords Dance Qwilfish would have just insta-killed everything, and it would have just been GG right there. Thankfully, I didn't do that, and I Scalded it. But I don't get the burn. And I do just under half HP. So, at this point, I'm in a really scary spot, because I can't kill this Qwilfish with another Scald unless I crit or burn. It outspeeds my entire team. It OHKOs everything except Slowbro right now. And it does almost Slowbro's entire HP. So my last chance that I have is to just go for Scald right now and either get a crit or burn. So I go for it, and I get the burn. The Qwilfish does go down to that burn, but my Slowbro ends the whole process at about 20% HP again. But I mean, hey, it's better than just getting swept right then and there and just losing on the spot. So I'll take it. So at this point, Coalfish has gone down, and he sends out his Barraskewda, which I know has Terra Water. This is another terrifyingly fast sweeper that is just going to be able to crush everything that is not named Slowbro. So I go into a Moongus, and he does predict that, and he goes for Psychic Fangs, instantly dropping my Moongus to 25% HP. I decide my only play at this point is to let Moongus die so that I can just get more and more regen HP on my Slowbro. So I let it die, and I go back into Slowbro and just kind of pray that Crunch won't be enough to KO me from 50%, and I go for Scald. If I can burn it, this game is still very much winnable. But he doesn't go for Crunch. He uses Terra Water and goes for a flip turn. He must have also been scared that Crunch wouldn't kill and I could slowly regain HP with leftovers plus Slack Off, but again, I am very PP limited. Even if I use PP maxes, a defense drop or a crit would instantly seal my fate. So, that's why I went for Scald. Anyway, he ends up going into Uxie on my Scald, and he takes a little damage, but still no burn. I've been pretty much backed into a corner now. I have just Slowbro, Glysport, and Glimmora left. I know the Barraskewda is heavy-duty boots, and so even if Rain weren't up somehow, my Glimmora still wouldn't outspeed the Barraskewda, so in any world, it's just not possible for a Glimmora sweep. My Gliscor can't do anything against his team either, so it's just, I know that it's entirely up to my Slowbro. My Slack Off PP has become an incredibly precious resource at this point. I only have 3 left, and I need to use them perfectly. I want to get the max value I can out of these Slack Offs, so I go for a Calm Mind on the Uxie first so I can get my special defense up before slacking off. Uxie decides to go for a Psychic Noise here, a move that prevents the receiver from healing in any way for 2 turns. Had I slacked off, I not only would have wasted a turn, because I couldn't heal, but I also would have wasted a Slack Off PP. I made the best play I could have for the complete wrong reason, but again, we take those. I go for another Calm Mind as his Uxie goes for Light Screen. Psychic Noise healing prevention wears off this turn, causing him to go for another one as I set up one more Calm Mind. I've now made it to +3 special attack and special defense, but I still can't heal and my health is down to about 30%. HP has now become my most precious resource, so I know I need to start doing damage to this Uxie, so I go for Scald. He U-turns, dropping me to 15% HP, and switching himself into Pelipper. Pelipper gets scalded and goes down, but he sends out his Terra Barraskewda once again, and I have to lose my stat boost and switch into Gliscor just to not die to Liquidation. Gliscor goes down, and Regenerator has brought Slowbro back up to 50%. I'm still scared it's not enough to take on Barraskewda, so I bring Slowbro back out and go into Glimmora, which takes a Crunch and a Liquidation before going down, setting up 2 layers of T-Spikes before dying. I'm now down to just Slowbro with about 90% HP. I'm left in a tough spot. How do I take down this Barraskewda? The only way to out-sustain it is to burn it with Scald, but I take too long on my turn trying to figure out my win con, that I panic and I click Slack Off last second. He Liquidations and thankfully doesn't get the defense lower, but Slack Off brings me to full HP. I only have 2 Slack Offs left now, and I'm just waiting for this Barraskewda to crit me or lower my defense, so I know I just need to click Scald and pray for the 30% chance to burn. I Scald once, no burn. He crunches, and doesn't get the defense drop, but I still get left with 75% HP. His Light Screen wears off. I need to burn this Barraskewda, but if I don't burn this turn, I will definitely die in the next if I don't Slack Off and I don't burn. So I decide to take the gamble that he won't get the defense drop, and I use another one of my 2 Slack Offs. He doesn't get it, and I go back up to nearly full HP. He crunches me again. No defense drop, thankfully, and I go for a Scald. I can now take significantly less damage from this Barraskewda and be put in a much better position to be able to live hits from Uxie and Iron Hands. I've planned far enough in advance at this point that I know my best chance to win is if I can use Uxie and Barraskewda to get to a position where I have most of my HP and 3 Calm Minds set up before fighting Iron Hands. I know I need 3 Calm Minds because that's the only way I could ever do 50% damage to Iron Hands realistically, with one Scald. If I can get Scald's 30% chance to burn on the first turn I see Iron Hands, I can survive, and I can kill it with another Scald, winning me the game. I only have one Slack Off left. I decide to greet it, and I go for Calm Mind in the Barraskewda's face, trying to save the Slack Off to get max value out of it, but he hard switches into Uxie. Uxie's going to inevitably Psychic Noise me, and I'm only at 75% HP. I can't heal anymore. I just have to keep going for Calm Minds to reach that +3 before I start attacking and hoping. At this point, I'm not even sure that I can live a burned Iron Hands attack and a burned Barraskewda attack, but I just have to hope. He goes for a Psychic Noise as expected, and I Calm Mind. +2. I go for Calm Mind again, but he U-turns into Iron Hands. I'm now at +3, facing down this Iron Hands and at 50% HP. I need the Scald, and I need to burn it now. A Wild Charge or a Thunder Punch will knock me out for sure otherwise. And then I realize Glamora had set T-Spikes before dying before. Iron Hands literally can't be burned. I've lost. I don't even get to hope for the 30% burn chance. I Scald, not expecting much. It does just under 50%, and he Thunder Punches. But I don't die. I live with 3% HP. I'm still not hopeful to be able to win at this point, but I didn't think I would ever live a Thunder Punch. Psychic Noise is worn out, and I go up to 9% HP. The poison damage brings Iron Hands just below half HP. I have two options now. I can Scald and knock out Iron Hands and save my Slack Off PP, or I can Slack Off and try to get 6% HP back or so, while risking paralysis and a crit. I take the gamble that he won't get either of those options, and I Slack Off so I can at least get that 6% HP back, because I don't think I'll be able to do it in front of a Uxie or Barraskewda. It's not great, but it's workable. I get to 15%. I'm all out of Slack Offs now, so I go for the Scald to take out the Iron Hands. Leftovers brings me to 21% HP. I have to deal with Uxie and Barraskewda with this little amount of HP. It's unlikely, but technically still possible. He goes into Uxie. He Psychic Noises, and I Scald. I'm low and can't heal anymore, but Uxie dies in one more Scald. He U-turns though, bringing me to just 7 HP, not 7%, 7. This is less than 2% HP. This brings in Barraskewda, and it dies to my Scald. It's now a 1v1 between Slowbro and Uxie, but still, I can't heal, and I'm slower. So, with my 7 HP, I go for one more Scald, but the Uxie's faster and goes for a U-turn. I fall, losing the battle 1-0. All in all, the battle could have, and honestly should have, been way worse. My prep was absolutely not it, since I prepped for the wrong team, and as I said, I was making silly mistakes, like not realizing the quote-unquote Uxie at the start of the game was a Zoroark, and because of that, I lost my Galvantula, which would have been huge this game. In the end, the PP on Slack Off didn't really make a difference, and honestly, I think it actually helped push me in the direction of better plays, but I won't be making that mistake again. I will make sure I use PP maxes for the rest of the season. After Mew Transform also screwed me in the same way week 1. You would think I wouldn't have made this mistake again, but I still did. So I've now learned the lesson twice. But anyways, GG's to Will. And even though I was in a bad mood for the battle, I think it's still a really sick one to look back on, and it was still really fun. So thank you all. Thanks for watching. GG's. See ya.